this could be wrong, but it's an interesting thought process. So, for consideration, if on Saturn, right, super cold planet, we'll say a lot of superconduction, a lot of avenues of interaction happens, that you have this total field of energy where you have density for which uh, magnetic in a flux system could uh, interoperate really rapidly towards that infinity of the inverse square law that we've been talking about. And then I think maybe the show Constellation might be drafting tendrils of what if, where on that flux energy, oh no, well, that could be a sign. No, I'm not. I'm just saying. uh, this is frustrating. So if the sun is that position in the, so where was that, right? You got the rapid avenues of all this conduction and an imagination of what if most of our being or our presence is there, just for the fun of the thought. And like that record album around that outer hull and the rings and tendrils, that might be kind of an influence of temporal change, if you want to think about it like that. Where in Aquachroma we talk about keeping energy in resonance and what that means for a long-term tracking or storage media of data and transmission. Say like your light speed pattern sent to one of the satellites, something far out, is storing a binary pattern of data that would be useful to recollect later, like a time capsule. So it goes to the ship and the feedback loop transmits that data back, and in the media of the data is the commands to the ship. So you just almost like using the code layer, the terms in the codes, maybe the variable names, represent the memories that you want sent. And so the banding still can help the satellite system, or and the reflections back could be the data and recollection, or just that repeat. And so then the space itself becomes a storage medium with that transmission system. So that kind of relates to people, because your recollections might be beyond me all around. It's, I don't know where that field energy truly ends. And so if this ends up being almost like the effective reflections back through orbital systems, such that it ends up being where we kind of broil our interaction fronts uh, with the exposure of the sun. This ends up being almost like the Star Trek idea, maybe. I don't know, I'm not that good at Star Trek. I'm just saying, if there's the hologram room representing the intake of energy, kind of like the conduits to the universe, then that could be a subset, kind of, sort of. If you look back in space time using your um, strain protocol of coverage and recognition that life is kind of like a draft behind effect of where you've been and what that cause in effect to all the molecular moments around. So if there's that much energy in molecular suspension, and the overall storage of your entire trace ends up being kind of sort of just the advancement of what might happen in that superconduction area, and it sends out those little tendrils out here, it it gets interesting. I like the thought process. It's Colombian coffee, so it doesn't damage. And unfortunately, what the consequence might be for imagination, maybe a shift in how much local I retain of recent orchestrations, that local dynamic of tempo. Because maybe that's what makes some people remember super good is they have that really consistent life where they've got their firm beliefs. You know, they know what good and bad is. I still think that it's localized. It's a relativity field, almost like general or special or maybe life relativity of acceptance. Otherwise, for dramatic effect, how does diversity work? Because then we might just be that cellular organism where the cells radio out. The cells move throughout the field of life, you know, this plane, and we all have our own homes, and we send out them radial logs, casting that distant data out there and seeing what ends up happening, what kind of feedback we get. And so, AC systems. I'm gonna go back to it. I'm gonna go back to a Ford. I don't get it. It's one hell of a vulnerability right there. You pop the hood, you got that plastic cap. Someone could just loosen it. Someone could just loosen that. And if they do and it persistently leaks out the refrigerant, drama. That's it needed some kind of, I don't know, feedback signal, like it breaks a vial or something. If you wanted to better protect the individual.